Hit it.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, we got no sound.
Do, 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 do,
I
do,
hope you like
do,
that one. The blast from the past.
do, 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 do,
All right,
do.
today is Friday the 13th, and I think we're going to talk about healthcare. Did you know U.S. congressmen have unlimited sick days? Did you know that? Well, they do. The one thing though that America has sent to the world right now, though everybody's talking about, is the fact that Kimberly is going to Greece as an ambassador, and Donald Jr.'s ex-girlfriend now. And it's nice to have Daddy send his ex-girlfriend out of the country so he doesn't have to talk to her. They've sent instructions not to feed her after midnight or water her. And I think I don't know why, you know. But okay, we're going to start off with the UnitedHealthcare debacle that has happened, and I'm just searching for my video. Apologize. Still searching, still searching. Well, I'm searching. Do any of you guys have a comment on what's happened with
I mean, the real issue is Tom Barrack going to Turkey as a ambassador. But no, get her out of the country while Don Jr.
well,
makes hay with the new girlfriend, whatever,
right.
socialite, whatever her name is.
I hear you. Well, I did find the video, so shame on us.
All righty, here we go.
The murder of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson sparked an outpouring of frustration online about Americans' dissatisfaction with health insurers. We've been trying to tell you that more private healthcare is no. UnitedHealthcare supplies in the U.S. bring over 50 million Americans. In 2023, the company made more than 16 billion in profits. Some say those profits come from not paying out on insurance claims.
Did we lose the audio?
Also was shot dead on the street outside a Manhattan hotel. The suspected gunman had the words deny, defend, and depose engraved on his ammunition, terms often used to describe tactics by insurers to avoid payouts. Insurers are not required to publish the data on how often they deny claims. UnitedHealthcare has been frequently criticized over having especially high denial rates.
The UnitedHealthcare CEO died is tragic and horrible. Let's take a look at some of the other horrible things that happened. Your two elderly people insured by United died. They were denied life-saving coverage by United because the company used an AI model with a 90% error rate to determine the claim. A college student insured by United racked up $2 million in medical debt to treat a severe medical issue. He said the company intentionally ignored a report that said this treatment was medically necessary. A man's $140,000 heart surgery wasn't covered by United at all because they said that he used a type of injection that wasn't medically necessary. Shitty news. Patients recovering from strokes and falls, often elderly, were denied nursing care from United and were often only covered for half the time needed to recover. Now, United's claim denial rate is one of the highest in the industry at 32%. An insurance company's biggest expense is what it pays out in claims. If it denied more claims, it pays out less and then it gets to keep more profit. Now keep that in mind when I tell you that UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson is one of the highest paid CEOs in the industry, taking home about $10 million last year. So it is sad that this poor man cannot spend his $10 million. Sad that a man who achieved the American dream by causing thousands of Americans to die each year from preventable causes because of a lack of health insurance coverage, it's sad that he got shot. what does it say about society that nobody who makes money off of people dying is safe anymore? If we want change, we must nicely ask for it. Just like when we nicely ask for health coverage and it gets denied. On a serious note, it is morally wrong to celebrate the death of someone. But we also have a moral responsibility with our one life on this earth to look out for each other and to care for each other. If someone doesn't do that and they lose their life,
Yep. And of course, New York, in their ultimate wisdom, has, here we go again. What did you think of the point she made there, Anne?
Well, she's quite right. You know, that there are unnecessary costs, et cetera, but they're never fully made accountable. The billing system is like any monopoly or oligopoly. They can just charge whatever the hell they want, and that's why it's achieved what it has. You know, if it were socialized, they couldn't do that. There would be caps on it. They would actually make a decision. They would actually be accountable for it. They would actually, you know, determine what necessity is a lot earlier. I mean, but the problem, of course, is the media reception of it. You know, today the lead on mainstream media or legacy media was that neither Luigi or his mother were on UnitedHealthcare, so they didn't have a specific grievance against UnitedHealthcare, and they were what, acting ethically or morally? My gosh, you know.
I tell you. Well, I'll also tell you that New York City, being how they are, as soon as they got photos of the guy, they decided to do a lookalike contest out in New York.
Yeah, that was pretty good. They did it within hours, and people went down to Washington Square Park. And oh, do you have video of it?
I do. Here we go.
I don't know if I want to be a part of it. Why didn't you?
I just got back from Atlanta. Atlanta. Hello. How you doing?
All right, so the FBI can come out now.
Got him.
Where's my bike?
Yeah.
Get the hell out of here.
The shooter?
Yeah, so they're a good people, that New York people, eh? Nothing like them. And a reward was offered for the suspect in the CEO's death, and $10,000 by New York, and
$50K.
or $50,000 by the FBI. And that's funny that you were talking about his mother there, because we're going to get to it. There were two manifestos out there. One was fake,
Yes. Yes, it
and
was.
one wasn't.
Did you actually get an actual one? Ken Klipperstein was
He has
putting
done
one
some
out.
tremendous work on this, hasn't he?
Mm.
Yes, yes. And I've been fascinated. But another thing New York is good at is well, I got to show this to you.
Yeah.
Wanted posters of the other CEOs
Oh.
were out there.
Vigilantism.
Yeah, it seems that way, eh?
Mm.
So, and I think everybody, we should actually start everything off by saying that nobody deserves to be killed or in a vigilante way. We're just talking about the reasons why this
Yes.
happened, or as far as we could tell, right? So,
well, go ahead. Sorry.
oh, okay.
No.
Well, yeah, there'll be plenty of time for discussion, which I'm hoping for, the way my video's acting.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Frozen.
The gun, some fake ID, and some money. He was turned in by a McDonald's employee. However, they originally said it was a boomer. and I put boomer into the internet, and this is what comes up, right? So. And then Burger King comes out with, if you can see this, a tweet. We don't snitch, but I have part of his manifesto here, and I'll read it. This was handwritten and found with his belongings. Since everything's allegedly right now, let's just assume he wrote it. So he says, I do apologize for any strife or traumas, but it had to be done. Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming. A reminder, the U.S. has the #1 most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet we rank roughly number 42 in life expectancy. United is the largest company in the U.S. by market cap, behind only Apple, Google, and Walmart. It has grown and grown, but has our life expectancy? No, the reality is these have simply gotten too powerful. I'm assuming he meant companies, but it could be a swear word. And they continue to abuse our country for immense profit because the American public has allowed them to get away with it. Luigi Mangione. And I have another video. This time it's of his lawyer. What do you think of the manifesto, Ann?
Well, I think it was a little longer in the larger distributed version, but needless to say, yes,
it was longer, but it was short. It was only like 128 words or 230 words.
Yes, that's true. It was, and it was scribbled out. I mean, a guy who's a computer scientist, it would seem, would post it somewhere to be distributed on the web somewhere.
Or on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we'll get to that. But let's hear what his lawyer has to say.
It's completely out of touch.
This is him at
the intelligence of the American people and its lived experience.
I haven't seen any evidence that says that he's the shooter. So that's, like I said earlier, and I wasn't kidding around. A couple of things. If you're going to report something, report it accurately. And remember, and this is not just a small thing, the fundamental concept of American justice is a presumption of innocence. And until you're proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And I've seen zero evidence at this point.
So he's seen zero evidence. They've also found fingerprints at the scene of UnitedHealthcare shooting suspect. Another curious thing is they found a bag of bullets in Central Park. And prior to that, they found a bag of Monopoly money and a coat that they figure was the shooter's. My question is, how can a guy so meticulous, how could he do this in so fine detail that he would get caught at a McDonald's?
Well, I think generally, maybe he wanted to get caught. I think that there's sort of that subconscious or unconscious thing. And God knows, wandering around Pennsylvania for 4 days is probably a tough enough activity, particularly if you have to ride buses around it. So I think we can sort of say, well, it's probably justifiable that he gets caught. Well, all the stuff on the internet. People said that if he'd been in Burger King, they wouldn't have snitched on him. Maybe in Wendy's said that they wouldn't snitch on him either. So it's sort of interesting, just in terms of the social media. I think that with real respect, I think he did have some sort of a psychotic break. And if it's true that he had 4, screws or 3 or 4 screws put in his back, I think there's pain management issues that had drugs are involved. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and actually, I was watching a doctor look at the X-ray that he posted. He used that as his. He used to post that X-ray with the 4 screws into his back, and the YouTube doctor, says that the way she's seen it, the screws went in too far and they were definitely in a nerve.
Oh,
Right.
there you go.
Right.
There you
That's
go.
part of that. So, the other thing, if you've looked at any of the mainstream news, MSNBC, CNN, NBC, they're all saying, they're all coming at him. All these millionaire newscasters are coming at him. And one of the worst, believe it or not, is Jesse Waters.
Clown.
This guy's not ready. He's way too soft. He's going to get annihilated on the inside. And good. If he's not going to get the death penalty, maybe someone will do him justice behind bars. That's all I have to say about that.
You should stop there.
I don't think he's going to get whacked anytime soon, right?
Well, probably not. Until he outlives his usefulness, I think. He is being housed in what some people say is one of the worst or harder prisons in the Pennsylvania system. And of course, he's resisting extradition, which I guess that's what his lawyer is for. But that'll fail. And, this is going to take months. He's going to be in the news a lot. And there's been that thing on social media where internal memos say that people are going to try not to glamorize his image, which also is interesting.
It's very interesting. New York Times won't post a good picture of him at all. And Brett Stevens came out with a horrendous take on it today.
Jesus.
And and Ken Klippenstein has said that they've been told not to put him in a good light, like with photos and stuff, right? So in the U.S., you've got 68,000 people are killed every year because they are denied healthcare. So, and I'm putting this up here to show a lot of the newscasters says, well, we can't figure out why you would do this. What is the reason? Right? And why are people mad? So I'm just giving them a few reasons here. Every week, a cancer patient's treatment is delayed by an insurance corporation. The patient's risk of death increases up to 3.2%. 338,000 people during COVID were killed by the for-profit healthcare system. There's stuff happens here as well. Is a Lakeland woman threatened an insurance company saying delay, deny, depose. She ended a call to the insurance company with those words. Apparently, she was arrested. Brianna Boston placed a call to Blue Cross Blue Shield regarding recent medical insurance claims. The entire phone call was recorded, according to the affidavit. Now, I've seen the full video on that. She's in jail for, I believe, $100,000 bail, and she could face a jail term up to 15 years. And other people on the YouTubes were going, I get worse than that in my YouTube comments, right? So it's just unreal. The police chief says that in this particular time, because of all of the stuff going on, he wanted to put her in jail. Okay, so UnitedHealthcare tried to deny coverage to a chronically ill fellow. And they were taking a court over it. Court records show United inaccurately reported to Penn State and the family that McNaughton's doctor had agreed to lower the doses of his medication. Another time, a doctor paid by United concluded that denying payments for McNaughton's treatment could put his health at risk, but the company buried his report and did not consider its findings. The insurer did. However, consider a report submitted by a company doctor who rubber-stamped the recommendation of a United nurse to reject paying for the treatment. You could find that in the ProPublica website. Bernie Sanders come out with a statement. He says he thinks the outpouring of anger at the healthcare industry tells us is that millions of people understand that healthcare is a human right and that you cannot have people in the insurance industry rejecting needed healthcare for people while they make billions of dollars in profit. Elizabeth Warren came out and said, violence is never the answer, but people can be only pushed so far. She says, this is a warning if you push people hard enough. And she got a lot of flack on that. She came out with another statement clarifying her position. But I don't find anything wrong with what she said. Even start to take matters, and people will start to take matters in their old hands in ways that will ultimately be a threat to everyone. I think she said it true.
Well,
Go ahead,
the costs are incredible. The U.S. leads the world in medical bankruptcies. Medical bankruptcies as an idea seems even absurd in the richest country of the world. I mean, in terms of public health. But, there's all kinds of other counterexamples for this. And the fact is, insurance is an industry. It sells products, a commodity of some kind. And the fact is, that's absurd. I mean, lives should not be commodities. But anyway.
Seems to me a Ponzi scheme almost.
Whoa, yeah. Well, all insurance is like that. It's a wager. Remember, it's a wagering system about whether you're going to live or die or get sick or not.
Right. Ocasio-Cortez also came out with a statement. Your future president, I'm assuming. I'm a Canadian. I don't know. She says, of course, we don't want to see the chaos that vigilantism presents. I'm really talking bad today, so I apologize. We also don't want to see the extreme suffering that millions of Americans confront when your life changes overnight from a horrific diagnosis and people are led to just some of the worst, not just health events, but the worst financial events of their and their families' lives. She added, I think for people who are surprised, it's a wake-up call for how much of this exists in our society. I mean, you got three Democrats come out with some strong comments. I think Ro Khanna too as well said something along this line. Do you think this is going to be an influence into the House elections? Ann?
Well, I think the midterms, are always a kind of reaction against existing government. So if the Democrats do it correctly, they'll seize back Congress. But I'm beginning to doubt that, although they have some very good candidates and some very bad candidates for head of the Democratic National Committee. And so that's kind of at risk. I mean, Rahm Emanuel may come back.
Oh my God. But and Elaine will find this. So the Times and Washington Post, they won't post a good picture of Luigi, right? But in Britain, man, like many women, that woman Clara is conflicted about the hot assassin. That's what they're calling him, the hot assassin, how the internet became obsessed with Luigi Mangione.
Is it not Matt Leck?
Pardon me?
Is it not Matt Leck from the Majority Report?
Oh, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, when it first happened, within about half an hour, the left online were going, fuck, that's Matt Leck from Majority Report. And then it spread as a meme.
I think from watching the comments on YouTube and stuff, Matt could be so lucky. Again, another British magazine. Luigi is America's everyman. The rogue elite has become a folk hero.
Ripped he is. Ripped
so one of my
is.
favorites here. Right there. There you go, girls. How the
Yeah.
woke left turned suspected killer Luigi into a pinup. And some people were selling merchandise, which is now taken off the web. But, just to let you know, So I got another quick 2 videos. Do we have time? How's our time there, Ann? Pretty good?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's amazing how they're this is like a Dillinger thing, eh? Or Bonnie and Clyde. They're turning them into heroes.
Indeed.
Is it the sign of the times? Is it the Gilded Age? Is that what doing it? People are just fed up.
It's like Ted Bundy. It's like other. This is, with all due respect, the same level of crime. Crime is actually going down. One would think that this is going to be a trend. I don't think this will be a trend. It won't even be in groups of 3. We haven't had number 2 yet, even.
That's true. There's also a theory out there is because the lead in the water is now not as much. Well, unless you're in Flint. And they did a study that through the 60s and 70s, a lot of the anger in the populace was due to the lead, was a lot of the criminal activities.
Or fluoride. Fluoride, after all, that's what the U.S. wants to eliminate. It's fluoride in the water. So I guess, I'm not sure it's sponsored by dentists, but I think maybe they should get a cut out of it.
Well, Calgary also up in Alberta is looking at getting rid of fluoride as well. The thing is, you do have fluoride toothpaste. I mean, everybody's kind of using it regardless, I suppose. I have no idea. But, okay, so I have a few patient stories that I'd like to share. Well, I'm sorry, I have to share, is what it is.
UnitedHealthcare spent this week trying to deny the medically necessary surgery that I needed because of a condition that I have called silent sinus syndrome. Surgery has been scheduled for over a month, and just this Monday, I was called and informed that they would not be covering half of the surgery.
I'm supposed to receive my injection each month, and that injection keeps me out of the emergency room. Without that injection, I am subject to have a severe asthma attack. A severe asthma attack, which might cost me my life. They my insurance. They did not give me proper notice. They just suddenly terminated it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not unusual, unfortunately.
That is so true. Now,
well, across the pond here, he's very much a hero. Left, right, and centre. Right. Because we know how invasive. Well, they are universal healthcare in Britain. They've got lots of NHS contracts. Right. So if you do use this opportunity in America to try and push for your version of the NHS, you'll have every fucking country with socialised healthcare having your back, because they know how predatory that industry is, and it's taken out provisions across people with socialised healthcare already. It's coming for them, baby. It's got to expand. It consumes all. So you need to get on it, you American strange people.
So I got a
seize the day. I'm trying to say seize the day. Carpe diem. Yes.
Yeah.
Use the advantage that this discussion about healthcare affords you.
You English have more words than us, right? So.
Yeah. Pigeon.
So we have also a bit of a tone deaf video from Brian's boss, his boss. And this is from Ken Klippingstein.
Are going to make sure that we not only acknowledge and honour that legacy of Brian, but we will continue it. Our role is a critical role, and we make sure that care is safe, appropriate, and is delivered when people need it. And we guard against the pressures that exist for unsafe care or for unnecessary care to be delivered in a way which makes the whole system too complex and ultimately unsustainable.
The idea of unnecessary care. If you need anti-nausea medication because you can't keep food down, that seems to me to be necessary care, but they're still saying no in cases like that.
These gentlemen have something called fiduciary responsibility. That means they have to, of course, return as much money to their shareholders as possible. That's their legal responsibility, just like as journalists, your responsibility or my responsibility is to tell the truth and inform people. So if people are paying them a premium to pay for their insurance, and in exchange for that premium they're getting care, the company is going to make the most money for shareholders by providing the least care. So to them, it makes a lot of sense to determine things that are unnecessary.
Now, that was Sean Morrow from More Perfect Union, which was something Beau of the Fifth column got himself involved in. If you want to see a good take on the insurance, go to More Perfect Union, and I think it's their latest video. It's just, they do some very good work out there. That's for sure. So the CEO, or Brian's boss, is going to continue Brian's legacy. Right? And I'm not so sure that's a good thing. I don't think he's reading the room. I'm just saying.
There's a bottom line. It's about corporate necessity rather than, what's necessary for care, general health, the public health in the big picture.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that that vigilantism is going to occur. I assume that it has always occurred. I mean, there are a sufficient number of incidents every year that are probably health related that people respond to. Either mass shootings or individual shootings. It's just that mass media doesn't really focus on a lot of these things, and also. Issues of suicide, for example, considering the kind of, considering that suicide and gun violence is, totally connected, and in particular, health-related suicides, for example. John has raised his hand. John?
Oh, I just want to make a quick comment that I thought that Brian's boss, by making the decision to put his face all over the media, was an interesting choice.
It's true. Also, Brian, so at the time before Luigi pulled the gun, the only criminal there at that time was Brian. He had a DUI a couple of years back, a criminal charge, and he was brought to under investigation with him and two other executives for stock. How do you explain it? Stock. He sold some stocks when he knew UnitedHealthcare's share price was going down.
Insider trading.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
And that's not unusual. That there are people in Congress who have done that, and a couple of people who've come back to the Trump administration who are guilty of that.
Well, don't tell me Nancy Pelosi was involved with anything.
I think Paul did a lot of funny business, but we just don't have that. But what's her name? Loeffler, the former senator from Georgia, is coming back into the Trump administration, and she made a lot of money from such an insider. She dumped a ton of stock, let's put it that way. But she's not the only one. I mean, there are people on the Democratic side who also have indulged in such insider trading.
Trading, yeah. And so, geez, I keep forgetting this guy's name, but he's famous. But I'll just play it.
Dealing with health insurance isn't tyranny. Tell that to the person dying of a disease that they have to crowdfund on GoFundMe to try to pay for because their health insurance that they also pay for doesn't cover.
I thought I saw the shooter yesterday who unalived the CEO. But then I remembered my vision insurance was denied last year. So it turns out I saw nothing.
He was the best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?
Gee? Oh my god, you've created quite the stir online. Yeah, you have. Everybody's looking for you. Yeah, including me. Wow, you are gorgeous. Is it true you're 6'2"? Love that. Okay, well, if you need a place to stay, here's my address, phone number, and social security, and of course my keys. Yeah.
I just threw that in there to lighten things up.
Poster boy.
Right. So one of the nobody's really talking about who actually killed Brian. If Bernie Sanders in 2016 would have won, or more of his programs were put in, or if he would have won in 2020 instead of having to be backhanded out of South Carolina, there would have been healthcare. Now, I'm not to say maybe Luigi just didn't like the cut of his jib and would have shot him anyways. But if his reason was healthcare, dude, so I guess you got to blame the Democrats.
Ooh. They're part of the problem. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, big time. All right. I've got one more that I want to share with you, and then we'll get more into the discussion. If you don't mind.
Not at all.
Welcome to Thoughts and Prayers. Our business hours are Saturdays, 1 a.m. to 1:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Your estimated hold time is 27 hours and 33 minutes. For faster service, go to our website at www.thoughtsandprayers.com and log into the patient portal to check your current claim status update. Thank you.
Obviously, on insurance wait times, and again, Brian, he had a couple of children and had a wife, though they weren't living together. As far as the what I've read in the newspaper, they might have been ostracized. I'm not sure. It almost reminds me. Do you remember the BP fiasco with Tony? That's British Petroleum, Lane. When the CEO of there, he was responsible for everything because that's what a CEO's paid for. The buck stops there, right? And with everything going on with the disaster in the Gulf, with the oil everywhere, he said he wanted his life back. Right? He just
I remember that.
Gave up. But a CEO too, through my work in life, they say the buck stops there. In this case, it was lead. It's unfortunate, but I don't know. What do you guys think of? Oh, actually, Lane, I got one for you here. Hold on. If he's here, okay.
You're on me.
All right. You see this picture here of Luigi? This was put on the wanted poster.
Yes.
Police were just in love with him. They were saying how much of a professional he is, and the way the gun jammed. I'm not going to show you the whole video, of course. What a professional he was. And then he jumps on an e-bike and he goes to Central Park and he walks out of Central Park where there were no videos. But they called him a light-skinned man, right? And I seen this on Black Twitter. So I just want to let you know. Growing up as a person of color in Northern Canada, if you threw me in a snowbank, if I didn't have a red scarf, you couldn't find me.
Yeah.
So, I found the whole thing is just so fascinating. I mean, you guys have your election, you keep the whole world tuned in, and I'm going, okay, finally we get a rest. Then you do this, right? And
well, I think it's been a sort of galvanizing force. So
It is, yeah. It reached the zeitgeist of the American population, and I think there's more people like they're not in favor of the killing. I don't see any of that. Well, there might be some in the dark web, but say in healthcare, I mean, they understand the pain American people go through with healthcare. And even rich people can lose their houses and their second houses through having being sick.
It's not just that everybody else understands that pain; it's that we know it's coming. Yeah. So if
Yeah,
well, the only way we can stop that industry is by the Yanks taking it on and us helping the rest of the world, because the rest of the world knows that they are very predatory and they're on the way. Like,
well, there's rumors of it coming up here too, the American style, right? So
yeah.
I'm sure this will kibosh a lot of that now too. I was in the hospital in the spring. Guess how much it cost me, Lane?
Zip.
Well, I pay my taxes, but it cost me $35 for a week's parking.
There you go. There you go.
You know, and
They do make the money in the parking. You're right.
Yeah.
Aren't that single payer stuff? Gee whiz.
Well, you know, and it's so mischaracterized is you got free healthcare. No, it's not free.
No.
We choose to pay a little higher taxes.
Yep.
And that money goes into a pot for us, right?
Yep.
Years back, we used to pay a provincial fee. And the most I've ever paid for a family was $150 a month.
Mm.
Right. And now they said, nah, don't worry about it. We'll just take it out of your taxes.
Yeah, there you go. Unlike in the U.S., where, you know, ours goes to the B-21 bomber or whatever. You know, our stuff goes in very strange places.
It does, yeah. There's also another thing. So you brought up bomber is they made this whole thing about Luigi's Goodreads, right? And the fact that he was attracted to the Unabomber. Well, his friend from Hawaii, who he lived with in a compound or something, said that it was his friend said he was the one who suggested for their book club, because they had a book club, to read the Unabomber. And then part of what they had to do was go write a review after.
Mm.
Right. And Trump has a guy who's going to be head of ATF who thought Ted Kaczynski was was underappreciated.
Mm.
Right. But you see how the main media is trying to, okay, you know, he's a Unabomber, he's crazy, he's a psycho. I think he's in pain. He's hurting. Yep. And he stayed there overnight. At the Starbucks or where at the Hyatt Hotel. He stayed overnight out on the street to fulfill his plan, right?
Yep.
Right. And his mom he was missing for a while. They did do a missing police report a month prior. And that's how the San Francisco police knew the guy once they seen the wanted poster and knew who he was. Mm-hmm. So here's another conspiracy theory is, and you could tell me what you think of this, is the fact that it wasn't a McDonald's employee that turned him in. It was the fact that they illegally had CCTV and they found him. And the FBI is covering.
Could be. I would say that many things were going on simultaneously. Eric Adams talking about a ghost gun seemed to be a lot premature. You know, they knew a lot about him even while he was still unknown. I think there's some very strange elements. Not that it's a conspiracy theory, simply that a lot of these things occur. That poor woman who she just wanted to be free of her family. You know, she was from Hawaii. She just decided she would cut herself off from her family.
Yes.
And her father commits suicide. You know, they start this search for her as a missing person, and ultimately, you know, she fesses up and says, you know, I just don't want to deal with it. But her father commits suicide. Now, what's the story there? You know, it's a lot
Exactly.
deeper than that.
He was getting a
probably
lot of
very
rude
sad.
things said to him on the comments, is one of the things I heard.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So yeah, you never know where mentally you're going to go. And apparently his family, Luigi too, there was also another, because they say how wealthy he is. Well, he went to a $45,000 a year prep school, and I believe Donald Trump also went to that prep school, is what they were saying. Don't know?
No, Don went to the New York Military Academy, because that's kind of what you do with troubled children. Send them off to military school.
You're going
Well,
to
he
West
must have
Point,
had
you little fuck.
must have had flat feet then.
Yeah, indeed.
Spurs.
But what's his name? Brett Kavanaugh went to that kind of school in Maryland. It's a very similar deal. It's very expensive. He was a valedictorian, so you know he had the highest GPA. He went to Penn, got his bachelor's and master's degrees in computer science. So therefore, you know what is it there? Incel, computer nerd. You know, he sort of fesses up to some of it. A smart kid, probably on the spectrum, probably, you know, but he had a breakdown of some kind. And I think if you have an accident surfing where your back is messed up and they put pins in your back and you've got pain management issues, something happens. I know other people to whom that has happened, where a major illness of some kind has completely, you know, messed up the wiring. It's not to excuse what occurred. It's just simply that this is not unusual, that this is a much wider phenomenon. So many people would not go out and be vigilantes, but rather they would, with all due respect, pick an easier way out. So that's kind of what's going on here. I mean, we can psychologize it, but it is clearly about madness. And in his case,
he could be a patsy.
And he could be a patsy, but you know, we're going to need evidence. I mean, this is that whole thing.
Yeah. If people want to lean towards a conspiracy and they're setting them up, you know, but do you think he's going to be Oswald? Is that what you think is going to happen?
Well, we do have, you know, it's a pattern, isn't it? I mean,
isn't it? Yeah.
You mentioned Bonnie and Clyde, you know, that's exactly what, but things were really wild then. All kinds of crazy stuff was occurring. And yes, they became romanticized because, you know, our narratives support that, you know, Robin Hood, etc. You know, it's social bandit. We admire social banditry, and
he had a hood as well.
Oh, Robin Hood himself as a
he had a hood. Wow.
Oh yeah, hoodies. Robin Hoodie.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just terrible. Just going to say that out loud.
Not Robin Hood, Shooting Hood.
The one thing through the years we've seen is like I seen was it the CNN guy was saying he doesn't think it's political. He can't remember a political killing, and then I thought, Kent State obviously came to my mind, and I'm thinking Rittenhouse too as well, because that was political in nature.
Absolutely, absolutely.
The guy in New York, Kenny, was it? A homeless man.
Daniel Penny. He chokehold killed a homeless man on the subway.
Right. Held him for 6 minutes, and they hailed him as a hero. He got off.
I'm currently arguing with someone defending that dick right now, actually, online. So he's being called a hero by some. This guy saving the whole world from a poor man.
Oh, geez, did I lose you guys there? Oh,
just
sorry.
For a second.
Yeah, you were frozen. So
yeah,
I kept going.
That's super Canadian internet. So my question is there a jury going to be able to convict him?
That's an interesting question, but it'll be about, you know, money and lawyers and lawfare and we're not going to see a trial on this for another year or so, right?
Right. Now, if they send him to your magical corporate court, where Shell took a guy and won, he would probably be done. But in the court of public opinion, I think it's with Luigi right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's unfortunate, but that's it'll be interesting to see. It'll be in New York. There'll be juries that it helps a little bit, with all due respect for his ethnic background. You've got an entire framing model that can be applied there. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, Bazan.
It's unfortunate, but it's all there.
They should have it in New Jersey, is where they should put it. Right. Okay.
I mean, the first jokes were Soprano jokes, right? There were Soprano jokes that came out just while he was still at large.
Oh, you goner. So, Anne, are you ready to me to hand this off for your news, or how long do you guys go for?
Oh, well, we can just go however long. It'd be nice to talk a little bit about Ukraine if you wanted to talk a bit about, Ukraine.
I will. So I will. Yes. Yeah. Okay. You go ahead.
Yeah, we don't have any time limits, but we do the sort of week in review with all of the different elements of Ukraine. Walt knows more about what's going on there than I do. It's pretty clear that we've.
I don't think so, but I am involved.
There's missiles every day. Some of us are a little more fascinated by the technologies involved. The biggest problem, of course, is Trump won the election, and there's going to be stuff's going to happen that we didn't expect to happen. But it has, of course, many sides. I had hoped this past summer that there would be an offensive that would break through and sort of collapse, not unlike the Syrians, that would collapse the Russians. But it didn't happen.
Well, we can wish for a Ruski Mir spring.
Yes.
A Russian spring.
Yes.
And did you cover the Orezhnik missile?
No.
That's the
very
one.
Good. That's very good pronunciation, Lane. I'm proud of you.
Indeed.
Dobra.
Terrifying. The one with multiple warheads.
Oh, the MIRV. Yes. That. Yes. Putin says he's going to launch a second one. My assertion is that these are ones that they built a while back, and they just got them sitting down around in storage. And like the first one, they didn't have any, or very little anyway. Only one warhead had munitions in it, so it was very spectacular when it came down. And of course, people got hurt, but it wasn't like they were blowing anything up. It's just, it's just an actual saber that was getting rattled. So they probably got a couple more sitting around, and they're going to launch another one.
Yeah.
Because it's not the latest version of that anyway. That's why it's just like, well, we're just, clearing out our closet. So that's one thing. And Trump himself said, well, these Ukrainians, they're launching stuff into Russia, and that shouldn't happen because he's sucking up to Putin. And the goal, of course, that people have reported is that Trump essentially wants to do Putin's bidding. That is, freeze the line of combat where it is, and force by Ukraine promising for a decade or so not to join NATO, and that'll be that. It won't be that. I mean, how many? We went through ostensibly almost a decade of all that Donbass stuff, and so it is just it's just sad. It's insane. But fortunately, Trump is such a coward that I don't think he might not even capitulate to Putin, and other events may occur. Let's just put it that way.
I agree.
For example, Belarus now claims that they have some of the Russian nuclear weapons. That's problematic, assuming that what's his name, Lukashenko, Lukashenko, whatever, the guy who's in charge of Belarus, has control over the Russian nukes on his terrain. That's one thing. And people claim that people are following Trump's. It was Trump's idea to try and get the EU to fess up more, or to cough up more money for defense, and they've done that, but they've done that out of necessity, but also partially because you've got to just sort of clear inventory. They've got a lot of obsolete things that they've given to the Ukrainians, right? All those F-16s. And why did they move the F-16s to Ukraine? It's because they're buying F-35s. I mean, this is just the deal here. We need the latest and greatest. They're really interesting weapons. I'm not going to say that they're the greatest weapons. There's another, boondoggle, a terrible procurement thing, but it does have the kind of technology that is probably pretty interesting and important if you're going to try and win wars.
Well, the new tranche have just come out of F-35s, and they are terrifyingly complex.
Well, you want it to be a multiple platform, right? It's gonna run swarms of drones, which
more.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of its own AWACS. That's kind of why it's designed that way. And of course, the Ukrainians are just incredibly smart. They knocked down a couple, and now the Russians don't fly anywhere near where they can get hit. So the remaining AWACS, the Russians lost a couple generals that way. It's interesting. It's a terrible war. It continues. Yes, the Ukrainians need a lot more equipment, technology, a lot of which, and some of the best, is actually being produced in Europe as opposed to the United States. It's just that, like World War II, the U.S. has a lot of stuff in surplus that just makes war a lot easier to run.
Well, you've still got an Air Force in the desert just sitting there gathering dust.
Yeah. I mean, there's just stuff that they're transferring the latest tranche of material that's been transferred is kind of slightly dated stuff that is still viable on a battlefield where people can get killed. So whatever.
They made a bunch of B-1s airworthy from that little dust bowl and Davis Monthan.
Yes.
Well, they've reconstituted them.
They've got enough sitting around. They committed to it, and then they gave up and went back to propping up the B-52 fleet. So, and they moved. They just had their first sort of exercise, training exercise, where they took a B-52H, which is now headquartered in England, right up into the Baltic. So they just wanted to say, oh, we have these things out there that can launch, 8 or 20 or whatever cruise missiles simultaneously. So, back off, as they say. So all of the
B-52s have been tickling that chin for a year and a half.
It's a viable weapons platform, and it's unfortunate. We have a ton of them. We have a bunch of them, and they serve a certain type of purpose. That is to deliver lots of stuff at a fairly low price, as opposed to, even the B-1B bomber, which on the Asian side, they've moved a bunch to Guam, I guess. So now that whole game is also part of this. So, we're in a very strange place. It is continuing that the Russians have about anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 casualties a day, which, whatever that is, at least it's a claim, and it's an interesting claim. And of course, they just keep on throwing people at the Ukrainians. Ukrainians, I would assert, have lost a fair number of folks, but they lose it at their losses, their human casualties, are less and have been less, and ultimately at the end of whatever hostility, it'll be essentially a 2-to-1 ratio of it's hard to think of it that way, but that's kind of what it is about manpower still. And but ultimately there are going to be some problems, and it's all about politics and money. Well, we've gone on for a bit. We're pretty much at the end of our rope for yakking about these things. Lane, is there something you'd like to press on about?
I'm almost at the end of my rope, damn it. Christ. Holy shit.
You know, we can only hope that things will change for the better.
Actually, Ann, I want to ask you about your column on Daily Kos. I see a couple of times.
Sure.
I didn't want to be there. Oh well. I see a couple of times you've been removed. You've been in the penalty box.
Oh yes.
What was that about?
Oh God. Well, let me air dirty laundry that's not on Coast, so they can't do anything to me. They have changed part of their editorial policy, partially because they've changed their internal staff. They retired or let go a bunch of folks and brought in new folks, actually, who are quite good and quite interesting, good writers at all. But they have a tendency, because they are operating under some constraints. That is, they don't want to promote conspiracy theories, so they're really hard about that. And they do that at the level of headlines, top line illustrations, that is the photo that goes with the story, and often your one subject matter. So someone reminded me yesterday, in fact, you showed the manifesto by Luigi. I actually had a longer version of that put up, and I actually sort of trusted the source, but it was pretty clear that some people via internal communication warned me off of it because it might other people had been redacted. They've been redacting stories because they violated terms of service or something. If it looks like you're promoting a conspiracy theory or an image that replicates a conspiracy theory, you can get in trouble. Now, I've tried to skirt that from a parody point of view, from a First Amendment point of view, but they're pretty rigid about it. And often I try to do it as a kind of ironic application, but unfortunately, since that's been totally destroyed in the with the event of Twitter and social media and Elon Musk, they've had little tolerance for that. So I got killed for 3 days, breaking my record for my 1,000+ day record of posting something about Ukraine since the beginning of the invasion. And then I got also dinged for that, but not about Ukraine. It was about something else. Usually it's my trying to make fun of something horrible and showing how ironically stupid it is to take certain
Don't laugh,
positions.
you'll cry, Anley.
It's as they say in the real world, fuck them if they can't take a joke. But anyway, so I've lost 4 days out of the entire, 1,024 days of putting up stuff on Ukraine. I mean, it's fairly routinized for me now. I have very specific sites that give fairly accurate reporting on damages. I use some trusted sources like the UK Ministry of Defense. There are a couple of other folks who do records like that. I do reproduce the Russian versions from like places like Rybar, etc., only because they're obviously propaganda. They're obvious, but they have sufficient recency. They're not necessarily accurate, but they do represent closer to the actual thing that's going on. And because both ISW, the Institute for the Study of War, and a variety of other folks, they're not going to give away, classified information. And the Russians certainly are going to try not to. They're much more towards disinformation, and that's what they do. So Walt, that's kind of, I just do what I do. I
Well,
occasionally
I
put in
like
stuff
what you
from
do, and I read
the
it
rant.
every night.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And
You can
everybody
see
should.
the commenters, there's some, they're based in Europe, and they've had, they augment in the comments. So they usually have some really interesting stuff. Most people don't throw in conspiracy stuff or crazy stuff. There are very few reactionaries who say, well, I could do that with a blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, yeah, I could be replaced with AI. That's fine. The fact is, I just want to get as much stuff out there so people know
Right.
what's going on. That on the ground, the Ukrainians still, even though they're giving up, maybe a half kilometer a day, are still kicking the Russians' rear, and they're much smarter than the Russians, so they could eventually win. I think if they have enough resources.
Well, I hear they have brigades that don't have enough arms. And United States was slow walking the arms for the brigades, and they were asked to apparently to start drafting 18-year-olds. And Zelensky, rightly so, said, we don't have enough weapons for the rest of our army. Why should we do that, right?
Yeah, they don't want to adopt a Russian approach, which means just, it looks Soviet-like. You send people out there and wait until somebody gets killed to pick up their weapon. I mean, that's not quite what the Russians are doing, but it's pretty clear that the Russians are willing to sacrifice every Russian who's not in the Moscow Oblast to into the battle, and that's very sad. I mean, it's very cynical to put North Korean troops in with what is it, Bayaristan or whatever the hell it is, just because they're all more Asian looking. That it's easier to put them there than
Right.
with other Russian formations, and yet they're just and of course the Chechens are okay. Chechens are okay with sending other people other than themselves, which sort of shows where the Chechens are.
Yeah.
So
Well, the Russians, they give you a stick and say, go get that guy.
Oh, yeah, and they're always willing to disinform stuff. So they're going to screw with Georgia, for example, or whatever. There's just other stuff going on that they don't care. They really don't give a shit about this war. It's really unfortunate.
Do you think the Syria thing with the Russians having they lost they're becoming a retirement home now for dictators is what they are.
Yes, they are. Well, they were, they pulled out, and look how badly, the Syrian government collapsed. I think that's essentially what they were doing.
Right.
They were planning to withdraw. No different than the U.S. in Afghanistan on the one hand. And it collapsed really fast, and I mean it does show the strength of all of those opposing Syria, and of course everybody has a little skin in the game. Turkey, Iran, whatever. There's a lot of it's really complicated in Syria.
Right, and with Israel taking out Hezbollah, that was also the Syrian dictators' help too, as well, right?
That's partially it, and also Israel now made an incursion into Syria. They the little part
we've been
that
helping Al Qaeda.
they've come in.
Why wouldn't they have backed off? Because the rebel guy, the leader, is it HTC or
Yes.
he's been saying all the right things.
I think he has been, only because he doesn't want to get caught up in that there's still elements of Al Qaeda, there's still elements of ISIS. He just doesn't want to get caught in a kind of propaganda war. This is all at the front end. It's propaganda. I don't think we're going to see democracy very soon, but it'd be nice to see it. But it would be nice.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to see that. You're going to see a kind of broken up, conglomerate, multimodal, rebel government of some kind that will have ultimately its own internal struggles. You'll see it'll still be malicious. It'll look like Iraq slightly after the invasion.
Well, you know,
the problems are still there. You know.
Yeah, Syria
It
was
could-
kind of broken up with the Kurds, I think, in the north, and then they had where HTC come from. He had a section of it, and then the dictator had
Yes.
the other section, right? And it was such a beautiful country at one time. Syria. I mean, that was the jewel of the world. Those guys.
It could go all Iran in Syria, though.
Could. I mean, you know, the
Wasn't
thing
that-
is, it's
wasn't
still
that long
about
ago,
Sunnis and
Assad?
Shiites. You know, it's still
Exactly.
Sunni and Shiites. Ultimately, that's what it is. You know.
Because, like, wasn't that long ago Assad was being criticized by Syrians for being too westernized?
Too secular.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
too
yeah. No, it had very strong secular elements, and you know, sort of that's what the game that Assad and his father, you know, sort of played.
He slept at Buckingham Palace.
Yeah.
He had a
Well,
state visit.
you know,
Tony
others,
Blair kissed his ring and all that malarkey.
I mean, you know, from one hegemonic point of view, it probably would be better in part of to solve part of this problem is to nation build a country of Kurdistan, but I don't think that's ever going to happen, but it should.
I hope it does. I hope it does. They've had a schwack. They've been schwacked through the Iraq War. So
I mean, if you're gonna protect nation building in the case of Israel Palestine, you know, you might as well do that for Kurdistan as well.
And Ukraine.
And Ukraine, of course.
A little bit of light relief. As I mentioned, Buckingham Palace. Have you heard about Prince Andrew's new scandal?
Oh, no.
It's not sex this time.
Oh.
This time his best mate and he's like top aide and advisor has been refused entry back into the United Kingdom. He's a Chinese spy.
There you go.
So he's been like the closest person to Prince Andrew for years, apparently. And he's been stopped from entering the country. So I'm beginning to hate. I'm picking something up about Prince Andrew. He's not a great judge of character.
Well, you know, he's got all the corgis, so there's that.
Yes.
I think we're getting close to the end of our yammering here.
There you go.
Because we're
I
going to
just thought
start.
to provide light relief at the end.
Indeed.
A
I
little bit
love
of
those corgis.
anti-royal humor.
You know, the Royals, they're always good for a laugh.
Yes. Actually, they're meant to be good for a laugh in person as well. That's a jolly bunch of toffs.
Indeed. Hey,
Well, I
King
haven't
Chuck,
had a-
King Chuck the Third.
Yeah, man.
Walt?
Pardon me? King
Walt?
Chuck the Third, yes. I haven't had the pleasure yet to go to an event where I had to toast the king yet. So I've only toasted the queen. So
There you go. I mean, Commonwealth and all.
For now, because apparently Trump's taken over, isn't he? Just keep calling it the 51st state.
Oh, he's just such a dick. I mean,
Did you
that's
see that tweet?
Yeah, I did. It's just he's such a dick. I mean, you know, you could reduce it down to the fact that Melania, you know, thinks, you know, Trudeau's hot, but you know then we're back right at where we started, you know, with Luigi. So I don't know. I don't get all of this.
well, yeah, that and Trump saying Trudeau could be governor of Canada once he makes it the 51st state,
Yeah.
and then Trudeau he went to Mar-a-Lago, and because they're talking about in Canada, prophylactics will be banned in Ontario.
There you go.
So Trudeau looked at him and said, "Well, as regarding NAFTA, we'll have to use the pull-out method." Oh, sorry.
Whoa. Well, you know that they did say that Trudeau went to Mar-a-Lago because convicted felons cannot go into Canada, cannot enter Canada. So
good point.
They can leave, they just can't go in.
That's right. That's right. Okay, I guess we're getting towards the end of our weirdness here.
You got to talk. talk about John and Susanna? the
Yes,
weekend?
that's true. I do not know what Susanna is planning, but first, in a few minutes, we're going to have Twilight Zone tonight. And John, will you give us an intro to that? Since for those who haven't seen this before, every week on Friday after hours, we have other things, and one example is Twilight Zone.
Yes, and tonight on a guided tour into the Twilight Zone, we'll be watching a episode called Stopover in a Quiet Town. The morning after a wild night of partying, a hungover married couple awaken in an unfamiliar place. Should be fun.
The walk of shame in the Twilight Zone.
You couldn't sell that any harder, John.
And
yes or no questions here, John.
yeah.
Is there anybody in this Twilight Zone from Star Trek?
There is not.
Good. Columbo?
Nope, I don't think Columbo either.
The Streets of San Francisco?
Not that I remember.
Quincy?
I don't know.
Falcon Crest?
Knots Landing?
Not an aficionado on that one, Lane.
My Mother the Car?
Gunsmoke?
Gunsmoke.
Wilbur. Anyway, if Susanna is here, maybe she has something for us on Saturday.
Hi, Anley. Yes, very quickly, I've got Tim Burton's brilliant Ed Wood tomorrow night.
Excellent. Get out your cashmere sweaters. Yeah. Bela Lugosi, whatever. John, do you want to talk about Sunday? We are doing Star Trek, The Next Generation. Are we going to do that on Sunday?
We are, yes. So 5:00 on Sunday, Eastern Time, we will be watching the 6th episode of Star Trek, The Next Generation, called Where No One Has Gone Before. And we'll learn something special about Wesley Crusher.
God, why don't they just stick him in an airlock? Well, anyway, yes. 3:00 on Saturday and Sunday is Weekly Marks. I don't even have a clue about what we're going to look at. Last week I was yakking about the German idea, so that gives you a hint about how much coffee you're going to need to drink before we start that. We do music late in the evening. I don't know if Lane is going to bless us with lots of interesting music on Sunday night. If you're here,
if I can bother my ass to be there, it's going to be. I'll just tell you something. I might believe in God now.
Uh-oh.
Because I've been praying to the Lord that the full version of Live in Montreux, the Marvin Gaye set from 1980, would become available in a watchable format throughout. I've found various versions of it on YouTube where it's chopped up and it's in the wrong order and it's annoying because I know the right order and it's a gig and but it's finally back on the BBC, so I can stream it live. So it's going to be Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye live at Montreux.
It's just a wonderful set of shows that for other artists. I mean, they're just some historic things that were done at Montreux. Anyway, so that's on Sunday night. Saturday night we have our own version of strange things that we play. So that should be fun. And later tonight there's open dialogue after Twilight Zone. I've threatened next week that we might show Ang Lee's Lust Caution, I think is what it's called, on Wednesday. So, well, we'll see. There'll be just more stuff. It's time to go. Walter, do you want to play the outro. We'll try and do better next week.
Hang on, that's not the proper. No. What's this? What out is